The one species of wildlife that everyone associates with Antarctica is of course the penguin. Wherever there is a rocky outcrop or a strip of beach, you're likely to find a penguin rookery. Even late in the Antarctic summer, which is when I visited, it's still possible to see penguin chicks with their distinctive brown downy feathers. But penguin chicks grow rapidly, and they soon lose their brown coat for their distinctive black and white plumage. But penguins are not the only creatures that have made their home in this seemingly hostile environment. While I was there, I managed to see lots of other different species of animals, like these fur seals. Once you know what to look for, it's easy to identify the fur seal because of its prominent external ears. The wildlife here has no fear of man, and sometimes they actually seem to be posing for the cameras. But if you get too close and stray onto what they think of as their territory, they'll soon let you know. There are always squabbles and territorial disputes going on. As well as fur seals, you can see the larger, bright orange-coloured elephant seals, like these two females. This young bull elephant seal was lying on the beach with his harem. This young female was off on her own, and she struck me as being a lady of very independent means. We also managed an encounter with a crab-eater seal, which was sunning itself on an ice floe. The title crab-eater is something of a misnomer, as they mainly eat krill and squid. Later on in the trip, we were lucky enough to see this Weddell seal on a beach. In the same way that penguins aren't the only wildlife, so they aren't the only birds either. There are cormorants or blue-eyed shags. In many places where the cliffs are too steep and too sheer even for penguins, you can see colonies of cormorants nesting on the exposed ledges and niches in the rock. They stand on the rocks like herons, watching the waters below and then diving off for fish. Another bird that you can see nesting on land, but this time right alongside the penguins, is the Antarctic skua. You find them nesting right alongside the penguins because penguins, and especially penguin chicks, are their principal source of food during the summer months. Another raider of the penguin rookeries is this bird, the Antarctic fulmar. Not everything, of course, survives the harsh Antarctic climate. There was no way of telling how old these whale bones were that we found lying on the beach, or to know whether they were the result of whaling or whether the animal had died naturally. However, for such an apparently barren environment, wildlife is everywhere. Even out on the open sea, the ship was followed by flocks of birds like these Cape petrels, and they were joined by their larger cousins, the giant petrel. But the undisputed master of the open sea is of course the albatross. You encounter them in the open ocean, far out of sight of any land. They ride the thermals from the ship, soaring high into the sky. And then they glide past, absolutely motionless, without ever appearing to have to flap their wings. Moments later, they swoop down until they are skimming, literally centimetres above the waves. When you see them flying in the distance over the ocean, because there's no sense of scale, you may be tempted to think that they're just a seagull. But when they come up close, their shape and their size makes them unmistakable. The wingspan of this bird was about 12 feet. They truly are the masters of the Antarctic seas and skies. The other animal that is of course colonising the continent is man. This is a permanent manned Argentinian base on Half Moon Island. We were lucky enough to be one of only half a dozen boats that were granted permission this season to visit the Americans' permanent manned base, Palmer Station. Here we were able to see some of the undersea creatures, like starfish and krill, that they captured for study. In these pots they were cultivating the rare Antarctic grass for experiments to study global warming and climate change. Wherever you look in Antarctica, whatever kind of habitat or seemingly extreme of climate, on exposed rocky outcrops during the short Antarctic summer, on the seemingly bare and barren cliff faces, far out at sea, in the middle of the open ocean, out of sight of any land. Floating on the frigid ice floes, or you're lucky enough to get a glimpse into the very ocean itself. The wildlife in Antarctica is absolutely everywhere.